This is hopefully a very swift video into insight into my current planning system. This is the second planning system I've tried for 2015, and it so far seems to be working pretty well. It's primarily comprised of an A5 Filofax, and this particular A5 Filofax is the Boston, which has 20mm rings, which is what I was looking for, was a slender book so that the fact that I'm carrying such a large binder would hopefully be minimized. So I don't carry very much in the pockets at all, some stamps, some business cards. Up front here I have a clear plastic flyleaf. This is made from report cover plastic, and it has a loop torn pen loop stuck to it with my 5-barrel Coletto, and that's pretty much it. I've got I had chopped up some paper and was testing out mini size and pocket size, and so I've got all these little bits of paper that I'm trying to use up, so I'm just using these as little capture pages for now. Another piece of report cover plastic. This time I have some of those smaller post-it notes, just a very thin selection of them, not the whole wad, and then also these little post-it flags, which I find very useful, and you'll see some of those later. Pictures of my beautiful children. A cute card from my husband, and right there, that's pretty much all the decoration you're going to see in this video. I'm not a big decorator, that's just not my thing. Some more capture paper, just offcuts from when I've trimmed down other sheets of paper. Some planning calendars for work. I've got 2 of them in here. We'll skip past those, they're not very exciting. And here we get into the meat of my planning system. Now, this is very similar to the FranklinCovey layout for the month. They use an index on this front page, a 2-page view of the month, and then on the back a list of your personal and your work or personal and business tasks. And so I've been very much inspired by this, but they didn't have a weekly layout that I could work with, so I recreated the month. And here it is. I've got the index on the front, and then here's the month on 2 pages. Since I was starting from scratch on the weekly view, I figured, you know what, might as well start from scratch on the monthly view and do something that I've really wanted for a long time, which is to have a Monday through Sunday month view, which is not common here in the States. It's much more common internationally, and I personally prefer it because my weekdays are very different from my weekends, and I like them grouped together. So for my purposes, this worked. Some other adjustments that I've made are that I've created a bills management section. Let's see if I can go in a little closer here. And so I've put things like my mortgage, etc. I've put them in the order that they need to be paid in the month, and then I can just cross through them or highlight them or whatever it is I decide I want to do to show that they've been paid. Because I often, although some of these things are set up to pay automatically, some are not, and I have this, you know, moment of fear of, oh shoot, did I remember to pay the mortgage this month, and those kind of things. So that's there. I know that's not something that's very common in Europe because you're paid monthly and you can auto-deduct things, but the way payroll works when you're paid bi-weekly, you kind of have to balance things. So I've backfilled January, February, and a good chunk of March, so some of these pages are not quite as full as they would be if I had used them to begin with. So here's the back where I did project lists, personal, and work. This is actually my second version. Originally I did 3 columns with home, personal, and work, and the columns were just too narrow to write in, so I ended up getting rid of that. And then a goals section down there, and again, this was a backfilled month. If you want to see, let's see, and then we'll take a quick look at a week. Just look at a blank week view so you can see what a blank week view looks like. So week view is also different, but also similarly inspired by FranklinCovey. First up, I've got a notes page. Now, in the FranklinCovey version of week on 4 pages, there's a tasks page, a 2-page week view, and then the back page is the notes section. I've flipped this around, and you'll see why in a moment. So here's the notes section for the 7 days. Here is Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. viewing through up till 11 p.m. On the page it goes, you can see 10, but there's a slot for 10 and 10:30. And then over here on the right is a tasks section. Down here in the right-hand corner is a routine section where things that I am trying to track and monitor regularly each have a slot for a day of the week. And up near the top, let's see if we can get the detail here, there is a spot for 3 important tasks for the day, and then borrowing an idea from a woman on our Facebook group, Gretchen, I have actually blocked out my morning routine time from 8 until 9 a.m. because that is when I am responsible for getting my children out the door to school, and I cannot schedule things for during that time slot. And so that's a reminder to me that that is family time, and it's booked. So then we switch to the back page, and this is where this is different, and I needed this, and nobody could make it, so I had to make it myself. And that is Saturday and Sunday still have a full 8 a.m. till 11 p.m. view. They are each outlined together, so I can view my weekend all on one page. And I still have a complete section for tasks for things that I need to do over the weekend, along with the same repetitive routines, because these routines that I do are 7 days a week, so I continued them here. So that is 1 week. A blank month looks like this. The blank index. No, not quite a blank month. An almost blank month. The view of the month, and then the back end with the project. The project section for personal and work. On a FranklinCovey design, this is actually called your master task list. I'm using this to track projects that are seasonal and that need to be completed in the term of this month, and then goal setting for things that are important and tie back to my overall goals, which are in a different binder, so I don't have those to show you right now. So that's my layout in a nutshell, comprised of the month on 4 pages and the week on 4 pages. Let me show you the very first week that I moved into these pages, so the rest was backfilled. So this is the first week. I did actually manage to squeeze an entire week's worth of notes onto 1 page, but it was right down to the wire on this week. And then here's what my week looks like when it's all filled out. I use a great deal of color coding. Orange and yellow are me. Work is yellow and orange personal stuff is me. And then anything that's a different color is either family or a specific person in my family. Here are those post-it flags that I was talking about earlier. I use them to mark things. Purple is a color I use for special occasions, so people's birthdays, anniversaries, etc. And this was my anniversary and a dinner out with my husband, and I use that funky, weird page, because why not? And when I complete something, I usually highlight it or check it off. I do both sometimes. It depends on what I'm up to. I stole an idea from, I think it was Penguin Girl's blog, where she designates a specific highlighter color for day of the week so that she knows when she's completed something. And so I often use that. So pink are things that get done on Monday, orange Tuesday, yellow Wednesday, green Thursday, purple or blue on Fridays, and over the weekend I just use purple. And so you'll sometimes see that so that I can kind of tell, oh, I didn't finish that until Thursday, without having to write the date and whatever. And then here's the back, here's the weekend, and all the things that I completed that were weekend or home-based. So I've been pretty happy with this. I not only have used it for 2.5 complete weeks, but I backfilled January through March over a period of those 2.5 weeks. And I'm feeling pretty confident that my life will fit in this even during the busiest periods. March is one of my busiest months other than December. And if it could survive March, it can pretty much survive anything, I think. So I have high hopes for this. I have made all 12 months for future planning, and I'm actually going to make January through June of 2016 because I am already planning work stuff and kids' school stuff for those dates. And then I've got the first 6 months of the year made, so I've got weeklies going all the way through the end of June, and I'll sit down and create the rest of the weeklies later. I've made a template for myself using Apple's Pages, so now that I know what I'm doing, it's really just sort of repetitive changing of the dates on the different pages and then printing. So, and then of course printing and cutting. I am printing on 8.5 by 11 paper and trimming it down in order to get full bleed from my printer so that the design and the graph paper design prints all the way to the edge. This is how I have to do it. And quite honestly, it makes it easier because then I can see where I need to trim. When the design stops is where I cut. I don't have to make special cut marks or any of the other crazy things that you have to do when you're doing custom inserts. So this is my system. I'm living with it. I'm loving it so far. Hopefully I keep up my planner infatuation and keep using it and that it still works for me. Thanks for watching.